Bette Midler is kidnapped housewife Barbara Stone, not a lady to tangle with, while Danny DeVito is her double-dealing and scheming husband. They're ruthless people here on Carlton tonight at 9. Now, though, it's Paul Green with London Today.
Good afternoon, I'm Paul Green. This is London Today. West Ham manager Billy Bonds resigns. The daughter of a wealthy Nigerian tribal chief faces sentence for her part in £1 million social security fraud. And a last chance to say bye-bye to Ming Ming. First, that surprise resignation. Manager Billy Bonds has left West Ham United, ending a 27-year association with the club. Gabriel Clark is at West Ham's ground now. Gabriel, what can you tell us?
Well, the official word from West Ham United is that Billy Bonds decided to call it a day as manager. The pressure just got a bit too much. The club offered him a directorship, but he decided to say no thank you. Harry Redknapp, his assistant, will take over as West Ham's new manager. But as for the man he succeeds, Simon Moore looks back at the career of one of West Ham's all-time greats.
Billy Bonds has enjoyed a very special rapport with West Ham fans since his days as a swashbuckling defender, always in the thick of the action. His managerial achievements with assistant Harry Redknapp were solid, if unspectacular. After winning promotion to the Premiership, many thought West Ham an obvious candidate for relegation last season. But some clever business in the transfer market strengthened the squad. They finished mid-table and even made it to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. But the summer signing of Joey Beecham from Oxford for £1 million went sour within days when the player complained of being homesick. Performances in pre-season friendlies have also been unconvincing. And only last night West Ham were comfortably beaten at First Division Southend. Despite that, the departure of the man Ham's fans call Bonzo will still come as a shock less than 2 weeks before the start of the new season.
Well, Harry Redknapp, West Ham's new manager, is with me now, the 8th manager in Upton Park history. Harry, there's sadness around the place today.
Yeah, for sure. No one's sad at night, Gabriel. I mean, it's a strange day for me, really. I mean, you know, as being appointed manager of West Ham, you should be doing cartwheels and jumping for joy. But for Bill to be leaving, we're so disappointed. I mean, it's all we've done. Myself, Ronnie Boyce, just tried to persuade him to stay. It's gone on for days and days. Last night, I was on the phone to him until past midnight. He just made up his mind that he's had enough and that he wants to quit. And basically, all he ever said to me was, look, you take the job, I've had enough, Harry, you know.
He was offered this directorship. Which came first, the directorship, though, offer, or the resignation?
Well, he just decided suddenly that he'd had enough, and I think the club offered him a chance to go on the board, but I think Bill felt he wanted a clean break away from everything, and that's what he's decided to do. So, but only Bill can tell you that, the exact details of all that. He's all he said to me, I just want to go. I'm fed up with it, and I feel I need a break.
Harry, thanks for joining us. More details, of course, later on throughout the day.
The daughter of a wealthy Nigerian tribal chieftain will be sentenced today for her part in a £1 million social security fraud. It was the largest conspiracy of its kind in Britain. Last month, Olu Utabatayele pleaded guilty to making £90,000 worth of bogus benefit claims. Christopher Peacock reports.
They're the trappings of a wealthy lifestyle, but paid for from a huge benefit fraud. Some of these designer clothes belong to Olufunmilayo Atabatale, the daughter of a Nigerian chief. She lived the high life from this Forest Hill house. Today, the 21-year-old, the last member of a gang of 13, was to learn the price for her part in a sting that netted her £90,000. The gang used hundreds of bogus and stolen documents, setting up 2,000 false identities. With these, they successfully applied for benefits paid out to 300 addresses, mostly in London. Mike Francis, principal fraud investigator for the DSS, believes the sting, if left uncovered, could have cost the taxpayer a fortune.
From an acorn, a big oak was growing, and eventually, had we allowed the fraud to continue much longer, it would have been running at something like £250,000 per week.
Other members of the gang, already brought to book, are now serving prison sentences ranging from 12 months to 3.5 years.
Christopher Peacock reporting there. A fighting fund has been set up to aid the campaign to save Otis, the dog on death row. Otis was condemned to death after a court decided he was a pit bull terrier. On Monday, Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Paul Condon personally intervened to postpone the execution. His owner, Harry Bates, says Otis is a Great Dane cross. He plans to appeal to take the case to the European Court of Human Rights. A man acquitted of killing a mugger is suing the Metropolitan Police. Kenneth Carrera was walking home when two armed men attacked him. One of them was carrying a knife and in the ensuing struggle died at the point of his own blade. But the police prosecuted Carrera for murder. A jury found him innocent and now he wants the police to say sorry. Leon Hawthorne reports.
Kenneth Carrera retraces a journey that last led him straight into jail. 4 years ago on the Westbury estate, South London, the 60-year-old was attacked by two young muggers.
We were fighting and German hit me from behind, you know, on my shoulders. We went down and he fell on the knife.
The mugger, Michael Sargent, who had 14 previous convictions for robbery and drugs offences, died. The police said Carrera was a vigilante out looking for trouble and charged him with murder. Kenneth Carrera spent 8.5 months of his life on remand here at Brixton Prison, awaiting his trial for murder. A worrying time where his physical and mental state deteriorated. His life has never been the same since.
The whole incident completely ruined my life, completely ruined my life.
The jury saw him as a brave man who defended himself against two hardened criminals. Now Carrera's prepared his own legal case and is suing the Met for malicious prosecution and false imprisonment.
I didn't want him to die, you know, but, you know, I wanted just to defend myself.
The police were unavailable for comment, but they are defending the case. Kenneth Carrera's battle for justice is not over yet. In South London, this is Leon Hawthorne for London Today.
London Zoo is preparing for a rush of visitors who want to see Britain's last remaining panda before she goes back to China. The zoo's confirmed that Ming Ming will go home to Beijing in 3 weeks' time. Annabelle Hackney reports.
There have been giant pandas at London Zoo since 1938. Here, Chi-Chi cavorts for the crowds in the late 1950s. In those days, visitors could get a lot closer, and the bears acted like the stars they were. Nowadays, it's often difficult to spot the panda at the zoo. There's a private enclosure. When she does appear, it's often just asleep. And now London Zoo has said Ming Ming will be leaving at the beginning of September, if they can get the right sort of plane.
We're looking for a way of getting her back into China, and this is not a trivial task at the best of times because pandas are precious cargoes, but also because of some of the restrictions about flying into and out of China. It hasn't proved quite as simple as we would have hoped. But we've got some leads and we're hopeful now that we can sort the problem out.
And apparently in the nick of time. This is bamboo. It's what pandas eat, but not Ming Ming. She's so fussy she'll only eat from one bush in the zoo's gardens, and that's getting smaller every day. Because Ming Ming hasn't got pregnant in the 2 years she was lent for, she must now return to China. In fact, no calf has ever been conceived at the zoo. It's unlikely now that they will ever replace Ming Ming, so these children will be the last to marvel at the sleeping form of a giant panda. At London Zoo, this is Annabelle Hackney for London Today.
A postal worker is celebrating winning more than £2 million in the pools. David Caldwell, who's 47, on Friday used his birth date to pick his winning numbers. Actress Joanna Lumley handed the Littlewoods cheque to the father of three at a champagne reception at London's Regent Hotel. It's the second highest Littlewoods jackpot of all time. David and his wife Joan from Cheam in Surrey plan to take a trip around the world. Swedish World Cup striker Thomas Brolin could be on his way to Arsenal in a £2.8 million move. The 25-year-old striker was a star performer at the World Cup in the United States. And we've just heard that Olu Otabatayele, the daughter of a Nigerian chieftain, has just been sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for her part in the £90,000 bogus Social Security benefit claim. That's news just in. That's it for now. We're back with a news update at 3:25, and of course we'll have all the day's news and sport as usual on London Tonight at 6:30. See you then.
Good afternoon. Well, the weather's certainly taken a turn for the worst in my opinion, but you can't please everybody all of the time, can you? Let's start with a look at the satellite sequence. You can see a fair amount of cloud there over the British Isles, with the thickest cloud going northwards over the Midlands and East Anglia onto Wales. Some clearer weather behind it. Well, let's take a look at the rain radar. Some rather dramatic pictures here, with the worst of the rain stretching from the Wash to Anglesey, moving ever northwards. So let's take a look at today. You can see in spite of a fair amount of cloud, we will get some sunny spells, but some very heavy showers as well, with the threat of thunder, the high 22 Celsius. Tonight then, more clouds spreading in, this time coming from the north, perhaps dry along the south coast, but plenty of rain in general.